And good day, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Today we have an article from ScreenRant.com dated August 4th, 2019. Star Wars 9 Theory. Who Rey is doesn't matter. Where she came from does. So if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing to the channel. Now, let's get into this. Rey's parents may not be as important in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, but where she comes from may be far more significant. Rey was introduced as something of a mystery character in Star Wars The Force Awakens, and from the outset, it was clear her backstory would be important to the sequel trilogy in some way. The Star Wars saga has always been a generational story, and as a result, viewers speculated she could be tied to Force users of the past, ranging from Luke Skywalker to Palpatine himself. Writer-director Rian Johnson decided to subvert these expectations in Star Wars The Last Jedi. In one powerful scene, Kylo Ren forced Rey to confront the brutal truth of her parents. According to Rey's greatest frenemy, her parents are drunken nobodies who sold her own daughter off for drinking money and abandoned her on Jakku. He had learned this because of the unique Force bond he shared with Rey, which allowed Kylo Ren to peer into the depths of her subconscious and recognize the truths Rey was unable to admit to herself. Star Wars The Last Jedi proved remarkably divisive, and Lucasfilm is naturally going to want to do something of a course correction in order to bring the fanbase back together. At the same time, though, it's important they don't overreact. They still want to feel like this is a single cohesive story. That means they just can't retcon Star Wars The Last Jedi away and rewrite Rey's history. Instead, it looks like J.J. Abrams could take a much more sophisticated approach to Star Wars 9. It's ironic J.J. Abrams is returning to finish the story he started. In an interview last year, Star Wars actor Simon Pegg revealed he knew Abrams originally had a very different idea of who Rey's parents were. "I know what JJ kind of intended, or at least what was sort of being chucked around," he noted. "I think that's kind of been undone slightly by The Last Jedi." Whatever the original concept was, though, Abrams seemed to have dropped it. He's determined to follow and organically from Rian Johnson's decisions. "I don't want to say that happens in Episode 8. That didn't happen," he observed in one interview. "We have to honor that." At the same time, though, Abrams insists that there's more to the story of Rey's parents than Kylo revealed. Abrams is well known for his mystery box approach to marketing, meaning right now he's naturally remaining as ambiguous as possible about what that means. However, it does make sense that Kylo Ren might not know the whole truth. He only knew what was buried in Rey's mind. Star Daisy Ridley had echoed Abrams' words, promising the question will be answered at the end of Star Wars 9. You do know what the dealio about Rey's background is. This was apparently confirmed in the first Star Wars 9 trailer, which actually appears to contain a subtle nod to Rey's parents. One shot featured a spaceship flying over a misty mountains terrain towards an unknown city. This appears to be a snow-dusted world of Kojima, one of the new planets set to be introduced in Star Wars 9. The starship silhouette is very familiar. It's the same kind of ship that Rey's parents left Jakku in. As seen in Rey's vision in Star Wars The Force Awakens, it's unlikely to be a coincidence. Perhaps the real question is not who Rey's parents are, but rather where she comes from. Certain specific places have always been important to the Star Wars saga. Although every movie introduces new locations, how many times has the franchise returned to Tatooine? If there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that it's farthest from, Luke Skywalker famously complained, and yet the fate of the galaxy was decided from that arid wasteland. Darth Vader himself, the Chosen One, was born there. His son Luke, the one who destroyed the Death Star and redeemed his father, was brought up there. In Star Wars, places are just as significant as people. Given that's the case, it's important to note that precise details of Rey's origin, including where she really comes from, are still a mystery. While Rey's parents are clearly humans, they were junk dealers, which means they could have traveled to Jakku from anywhere in the galaxy. It's impossible to say whether they brought their daughter Jakku with the intention of selling her, or whether the young Rey just happened to be on board on a day they failed to make as much money as they'd hoped. All Kylo Ren knew of Rey's parents was that he read her own mind, and Rey appears to have no memories of her life before Jakku, not even repressed ones. That means when he insisted Rey's parents were dead in a pauper grave in the Jakku desert, Kylo Ren had reached the limits of his knowledge and was simply expressing Rey's hidden fears. Rey's parents could be well and alive, and if so, it's curious to note they never returned to Jakku. So the key to Rey's story may not lie in her parents' identity, but rather where exactly she came from. If that case is indeed the case, though, it's difficult to take this theory much further. While it's possible J.J. Abrams has tied Rey into a pre-existing location, maybe even Tatooine, he's more likely to have created a whole new world. It wouldn't even be a surprise to learn Rey's parents came from Kijimi, which appears to be the planet shown in the trailer. While all that's just supposition, certain logical deductions can be made about Rey's backstory. Rey's parents are junk dealers, which means they're less likely to be tied to a core world like Coruscant or Hosnian Prime, where custom procedures make the profession a lot more difficult. She was born at a time when Luke Skywalker was attempting to reform the Jedi Order, and yet she never came to Luke's attention. That again supports the idea Rey was brought up on a more remote rim world, where nobody of note ever crossed her path and noticed the child's Force potential. This all supports the idea Rey could come from Kijimi, which appears to be a fairly lawless rim world, and has a thieves' quarter where bounty hunters like Zori Bliss operate. There is one other potentially important clue, though. Rey is unusually powerful in the Force, so much so that she can match Kylo Ren, the grandson of the Chosen One. That means you'd expect powerful Force-sensitive across the galaxy, such as Luke Skywalker or Palpatine himself, to sense her existence from an early age. In Star Wars, however, a nexus of the dark side can conceal the existence of even the most powerful Force users. Yoda remained hidden on Dagobah for 20 years, living near the dark side cave. Rey was safe on Jakku, a world that had been touched by the Emperor's plans, and was only sensed by Supreme Leader Snoke when she left the planet. But why did nobody sense her before she was taken to Jakku? It could actually be Rey origins from another world steeped in the dark side, which concealed her as a child. If so, that may even hint at why Rey's past is important. Because she has a secret link to the Sith, and the greatest Dark Lord of the Sith is making his unexpected return in Star Wars 9. So, what do you think about this article? I know at the ending it seems like they hint that she's linked to Darth Sidious, the Emperor. But what else do you think? Do you think it doesn't really matter, who she came from, but where she came from? If she came from, say, Tatooine or Dagobah or something like that, does that really matter? Quite possibly. So it's kind of an interesting theory. They try and put away, who Rey is doesn't really matter so much. But if we could deduct some stuff from where she came from, or didn't come from, maybe we could figure her out even more. I don't know. I'm at a loss when it comes to figuring out who Rey is. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait till episode 9 and find out that way. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, take care and have an awesome day.